Hi, I'm Cathy, and I'd like to share how A Window Between Worlds began. Technically, I'm the founder, but truly, since the very beginning, it's been an evolving and co-creative journey. And so please know that you are each founders too. We are side by side, and I am so grateful that you're here. And so this journey that you're now a part of, it began decades ago. It was 1991. It was a really challenging time in my life. I felt lost. And I was walking through the forest with a friend, and she turned to me and said, "What's your greatest vision?" And what came to me was, I want to travel across the country and share art in a way that might make a difference. I grew up with domestic violence, and art was my safety, my voice. In the face of what felt dangerous, it was my way to connect without words. When I shared those words with her in the forest, they seemed impossible, ridiculous to me. And I don't know what was in her mind, but she turned to me and said, "I could see you doing that. Send announcements and let them know you're coming." And with her encouragement, I have a photo of myself a month later with an armful of letters to domestic violence shelters across the country, sharing, offering to come and share art in any way that would serve. And I doubted I would hear back from anyone, but I began to hear back, and over 30 shelters welcomed me to come. The reason I share this story is because none of this would ever have begun if it weren't for that person listening, that person inviting that space of visioning, encouraging, even in the face of what feels impossible. And that's the space I tried to hold and offer from shelter to shelter to shelter in each space for each person that I worked with, that window of time separate from the rest of the day, that window of time to listen deeply to our truth, our visions, even if they feel impossible. And so Window Between Worlds was never a solo project. It was always a circle of encouragement. And you are part of this ongoing story. And so my wish, my encouragement for you in this moment is to let this be your walk through the forest, to somehow let this be a safe and brave space to listen to your heart, to listen to your visions, to listen to the impossibles, to know that you are a founder of the next chapter of your life, that you are a founder of Window Between Worlds. I am so honored to journey with you. Now that you know our origin story, I'm going to share a little bit about our lens on art. Sometimes when people think about art, they feel like you have to have some kind of artistic ability or educational experiences. We get a lot of messaging that art is about the product, the final product, what it looks like, rather than the process. And at A Window Between Worlds, we see it a little bit differently. That whole journey that birthed The Window Between Worlds, that whole journey was an artwork. That walk through the forest was part of the art. Um, Someone once asked me what my medium is, and I said, my medium is time and connection. That's the medium of this art. And the painted things or the clay, that these objects are scaffolding and artifacts of this journey, but the journey is the art. And so I want you to know, or just imagine, um, this type of art that may not be visible to the eye, but that is very courageous. To imagine that when we're listening deeply, our ears are the paintbrush. When we're sharing from the heart, maybe something we haven't voiced before, and sharing it and feeling heard, that our voice is the paintbrush. When we're taking a moment to connect with our vision in a moment where it feels lost or we feel lost, because that trauma pulls us away from our center. When we use our breath to come back to that center, our breath is the paintbrush. The whole journey over time is our paintbrush. When we're helping people understand this expansive lens on art, We share three words: create, carry, connect. So when we create art, we can be like holding that dream space, a way of inviting different thoughts and ideas, making them tangible, a way of inviting our heart to speak without our mind getting in the way. It can help us even notice within ourselves our dreams and our wishes. So that's create. And then carry. Carry refers to that invitation to imagine, how might I use this over time to support my journey? And to illustrate that, I'll share from that very first year, one of our very first participants. Her name was Betty. She was a survivor of domestic violence in Santa Maria, California, and had created two pieces of clay, one representing what she wanted to move from, and one what she wanted to move toward. And when I visited that shelter 2 years later, it was midnight when I got there. I knocked on the door, and it was Betty who answered. She had become part of the staff. And she did not say, "Come on in." She said, "Come look at my car." And I went, and she had that artwork hanging from her rearview mirror. It was there as a compass, it was there as a support, because trauma can spin us around every day. There's ups and downs. And it was her way of remembering, what am I going from? What am I going toward? The art was that whole journey. She had innovated a path of strength for herself. And with our art, we are each invited to innovate. No one told her, put that there. That was what she chose. That was what she thought would help her. And we each get to choose what will help us. So that's carry. And then connect. With connect, I think of our connection within as well as our connection to one another. Trauma makes us forget both of these things. But with our art, over time, we can hold that connection. And so with Betty, it was like she had me with her for that 2 years. It's like, hey, you have been here. You have been with me. This support, that 1 hour space, that window of time has been with me all of these years. So she felt connected. And so with our art, we may have an opportunity to share aloud, and we have that choice to share or not share. But even whether we share aloud or don't share, we can know that we have support for our choices. And when we see that art, we can remember that space of support. We can remember that we are part of a circle of connection. Another way to understand create, carry, connect is through the idea of durational art. In the art world, durational art refers to any art that is built out of change over time. And so you might see a time-lapse video of a flower blooming, or photographs of a banana slowly decaying. And the art is not these objects, but it is the process that's revealed over time. And at Window Between Worlds, we are each innovators of this type of art, and our participants are too. But rather than supporting and revealing changes in a banana or flower, it's the beautiful and brave changes in ourselves, in our communities, in our movements for advocacy and justice. These are the things that we are supporting and nurturing with this kind of durational art. Betty's art is such a beautiful example of this. The art was not just the clay objects, it was that journey over time. And so as you work with your participants, as you think about your own life, we welcome you to invite the innovation of whatever journeys feel supportive to you, to your participants. And in your resource packet, you have all kinds of resources to help you make these concepts or these ideas, to take them and make them your own, to support your own journey.